Good evening, everyone, to the Plan Commission meeting for January 20, 2026. The first thing is to call to the order to the meeting, and we have quorum. Second is approval of minutes.
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Any question, comments? Here none. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the December 16, 2025 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next, we are moving to item number 3, is public appearances for non-agenda item. Do we have anyone on the chamber who wishes to speak a non-agenda item? Okay. So next, we move to agenda review. Any comment, question about the staff memo? Here none. We move to the agenda item. So we are going to start with item 5A is I will open the public hearing and consideration of rezone RZ-2626-26 request by Thomas Ford, agent from Irish 1855 LLC, to rezone property from AS, that is a small lot agriculture, to RL, that is low density residential, to allow for a proposed single-family residential development on property near 2624 Notre Dame Drive. So we have a couple of people here that they want to speak in this public hearing. So I will be calling you to the microphone. Everyone will have 3 minutes. Okay. So we're here. Okay. So the first person I will call is John Toohey. He wishes to speak in opposition. I don't know if I pronounce your last name correctly, but yes, Toohey. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks for the chance to share some comments. Just for context, I live on Mary Lane, which is to the south of this property that's being rezoned. And kind of from the backyard, we look across the walking path towards that area. Some of my neighbors may share similar comments, but when we purchased our lots, we were told that that area would likely remain kind of open space due to the creek running through it. I've found out since that, the city has included that property in the comprehensive plan for development for a long time. But, all of us that purchased those lots, we had different realtors, we had different builders, but we all kind of got the same story that, that the area would likely remain open space. So I know there's not much the Planning Commission can do about it at this point, but given that we purchased those lots from the developer that's doing this area, and he knew all along that it would be developed, I would say our group on Mary Lane were not too happy about that. One thing that I would ask that the planning department kind of look at is in the tree study that's done for the development. Basically, that tree study only recommends saving trees on kind of the eastern and western portions of the property. The only trees that it identified as saving on the southern border of the property, which faces ours, is like 2 hackberry trees, 1 in each corner. So, on the west side of the property by that court, most of those trees there are, a lot of them I'd say are half dead. They'll probably need to come down just for safety reasons, but those lots are fairly deep that maybe the developer could plant some more trees there to provide a little bit of barrier with the walking path and give those lots some privacy. Then on the other side, the kind of the eastern border of that, the way the lots are configured, I think it's lot number 23. It's kind of narrow that it's going to be hard for them to save any of the trees along that side. But the city does have some right-of-way from that property to the walking path, and maybe some additional trees could be planted there to, again, just provide some privacy and make up for some of the loss of the wooded area. But the main comments that I wanted to make is just talk about kind of the stormwater management for the property. And based on my kind of research, I've talked with folks in Public Works, that the creek was rerouted through that property like about 10 years ago in kind of anticipation for building putting in these residential lots eventually. And the rerouting of the creek, that the Department of Natural Resources had jurisdiction over that, so there must have been some kind of plan submitted to the DNR. But Fitchburg doesn't have a copy of that plan. All that Fitchburg has is a copy of the DNR permit for the work, but kind of no analysis about how water would flow through that property. And in kind of doing research, I've looked at the 2017 Fahey Fields development or stormwater plan, and that's got all kinds of detailed calculations about all the water that's coming to that property. But because that property, the rerouting of the creek was done by the DNR, that 2017 plan.
John, your time is up. Your time. You're almost a minute.
Okay, well, this last comment I would
Okay.
make, I was going to show some pictures of the
she will
pond,
show it, yeah.
that I would like to do that. The other concern I have is that pond has overflowed once in our time there. And I think the first picture that shows the pond is a good example.
Oh, you have the
There should
picture
be
there.
3
Okay.
pictures.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm not sure the amount of rain, but that was probably a 2-year type of rain, 2-3 inches worth of rain, and there it is. It basically caused the retention pond, the overflow area to almost overflow. The water's very close to the walking path, and I would really encourage Fitchburg to go get that DNR plan that covers the flow through that property and really look at whether this whole stormwater management system can accommodate the amount of water that would have to flow through that property. Because in my research, I haven't been able to find anything about the flow of the water through the property.
Yeah, we have our,
Yep.
one
All
of our staff is going to answer those questions later. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for the
No,
chance to
thank you.
talk.
Okay, so I will call next Isam Blankspor. He wishes to speak in opposition. Yeah.
Hi, Ethan Blankenspor. I am echoing a lot of the things that John said. I'm also on that, looking at the south side of this new development on Mary Lane. We moved in 5 years ago, and same story for us as this was zoned as open space and wasn't going to be developed. So that was, something that we were looking for when we moved to this area. And, not only wanted to have the nature behind us, but also paid a premium for that lot as a result. And to know that, the developer had these plans down the road is unfortunate. Another big thing for me is I have 3 young daughters, and we love looking back there and seeing the wildlife. Specifically, frequently we see deer, we oftentimes hear owls, we have seen tons of sandhill cranes out there. There's different songbirds, different hawks. Occasionally we've seen bald eagles, coyotes. There's been a lot of wildlife back there, and we think that if this development goes through the way it's proposed, it seems likely that there's going to be some negative impacts on that as well. John has clearly been very researched on a lot of the stormwater concerns, but that's also a concern of mine, considering my property backs up to that as well. And I just ask that you guys consider all these things as we think about what's the next step with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next one is Susan Dashgan. Yeah.
I'm just wanting a couple comments, I guess.
Go ahead.
I live at my husband and I live at the crossing.
Okay.
Adjacent, so we've been there for 8 years. And my biggest concern is safety, traffic, and the speed tonight, just even leaving the development, we leaving the crossing have the stop sign, and assuming that Notre Dame will not have a stop sign. So just to make sure that the Planning Commission and the developer is keeping the crossing 100-plus residents in mind. The speed is a concern, not knowing what's going to go in the acre adjacent to our development. Last year, at the same time, we were having that discussion. So we know what's coming, and we know the development, but just to be cognizant of the 100-plus residents at the crossing, and to consider that. And the unknown as far as the amount of traffic, will the new residents in the new development exit Quarry Hill? I'm hoping, instead of using Notre Dame, but that's yet to become. So that's my biggest concern is, and also we as residents to have the accessibility coming and going even during the construction.
Okay.
Not to forget us, I guess, is the biggest thing. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And then David Fahey. Do you want to add anything, David? Okay. After Diana. Okay. So then I will, anyone else? No. So, and also I want to mention that we received a couple of emails in opposition of this project that we share with the plan commissioners. So, and I am not planning to read those ones. So, and then anyone else want to speak on this matter? Okay, so I will close the public hearing and then we are going to staff report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deanna Schmidt. I am the city planner here at the city of Fitchburg. I will just walk through our staff memo comments, and the staff memo comments are going to reflect the first two items on Plan Commission agenda, the rezone 2626-26 and also the preliminary plat, which is both of these staff has been referring to as Irish 1855. First important note, there's a clerical error in our agenda item. The request here was for rezone to low to medium density residential, not to RL or low density residential. The current future land use, as you might have saw, is low-density residential. Rezone to RLM, or low to medium-density residential, is allowable. Currently, the property is zoned AS, or small lot agriculture. The property is located just north of Fahey Fields and south of Lacey Road. As noted, by staff that the future land use is low-density residential. I just wanted to point out some of the history of this parcel. This is the city's future land use map, actually from 1995. This is the parcel that we're discussing right here. This was before we did colors and planning, but it was designated as low-density residential in 1995. This is our land use map from 2002, so well over 20 years ago. This is the parcel in question right here. You can see that environmental corridor through the middle, but also it was low-density residential. So actually, this is even in some of our earliest land use maps, this was designated as low-density residential. This was also designated low-density residential in the McGaw neighborhood plan. I put a small clip of that in your agenda, in your memo, just for reference. The subdivisions to the west, which is Waterford Glen, which is approximately 3.3 dwelling units per acre, and then the subdivision to the south is Fahey Fields, and that's about 2 dwelling units per acre. Most of those parcels are also zoned as low to medium density residential. The lots on the cul-de-sac will be approximately 70 feet wide by 110 feet deep. So generally in the same size range as what the neighboring subdivisions are. To the east of the proposed subdivision is the Crossing condominiums and the Olson's single-family property. To the north is Quarry Hill Drive. Quarry Hill Drive will be constructed, and north of Quarry Hill Drive is the Lacey Ridge Townhomes and a vacant parcel that is zoned in the future, or that has a future land use of mixed use and low-density residential. Staff does note that the proposed plan impacts the environmental corridor and Swan Creek. A stormwater management plan must be submitted and approved prior to any construction. These plans are approved by city engineers, the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission, and the Wisconsin DNR. The development will need to meet the 200-year stormwater management standards and the more stringent McGraw neighborhood standards. All stormwater will enter the regional stormwater detention facilities within the Crossing condominiums per the city's master plan. And we do have Ben Schulte on Zoom this evening to address any specific questions. No portion of this site is in a FEMA flood hazard zone. Staff notes that Swan Creek is navigable. Therefore, the applicants are working with the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission on the appropriate environmental corridor width. A tree preservation plan was included in your packet and included the current land cover is old field and recently established woodlands and old fields and a pine plantation. A total of 217 desirable trees were defined in the tree preservation plan. And just for everyone's interest here, our tree preservation plan and ordinance requires not all trees to be identified as quality trees, but only trees such as oak, hickory, pine, those long-lived trees are the only trees. So trees like mulberry or box elder are not identified as required in our tree preservation ordinance. Of those trees, 171 trees were identified within the 2 pine plantation. The city forester believes that the 2 pine plantations were planted for paper mill harvesting. The trees are planted very close together and were never properly maintained. Many of the lower branches are dead and the trees are in moderate health. The city forester does not believe that the pine trees in these plantations can be saved and remain viable or valuable tree cover. There are 2 rows of mature white pine and of 32 trees total along the western perimeter of the site bordering the Waterford Glen subdivision. The tree preservation plan states that these trees are in good to moderate health, but were crowded and typically have few lower branches on the west side due to the closeness of trees. There would be some chance for some of those trees to be to be removed just for safety reasons. The recently established woodlands within the old fields is dominated by black cherry, black box elder, mulberry, and walnut. And once again, those are not determined as desirable trees. The only desirable tree that was noted in that area was hackberry. The tree preservation plan does designate the 2 hackberry trees and the pine trees along the western edge of the site to be protected. Just a note on the cul-de-sac. I know there was some questions and concern on Plan Commission about the desirability of a cul-de-sac. It's not highly desirable in terms of long-term planning. In this case, there really isn't a reasonable option for connectivity to the west or to the south for this cul-de-sac. And so therefore, this is really the cul-de-sac is really the most efficient way to develop these lands. A walkway would connect the end of the cul-de-sac to the multi-use path on city property to the south. This would connect residents to McGaw Park. The developer does not intend to dedicate any parkland. Instead, the developer intends to satisfy the parkland requirements with fee in lieu of land dedication. And so staff does recommend approval of the rezone to, and I'll just remind you once again, to low to medium density residential with 3 conditions, and then also approval of the preliminary plat with 21 conditions. If approved, the rezone and the preliminary plat by Plan Commission and Council, this project still returns to Plan Commission and Council as a final plat at some point. And so I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Diana. So we are open this to a question from Commissioner. Oh, David, do you want to add anything else?
No, just thank you that Deanna covered it. And
If we have questions.
most of the trees going through there are box elder. I remember when I was a kid, they were falling, I mean, they've fallen down. We've lost a couple, even some of the stumps the city pushed back into this that we'll have to clean up. So that's mostly along, and if we'll talk to the city on what needs to be saved along the path. I mean, but I think most of the city staff will prefer that they get cleaned up, in my opinion. I'm not trying to speak for the staff, but.
Okay, thank you. Any question, comment? Okay, Shelley.
So I have a couple regarding the stormwater, which seems to be the big issue. In the memo, Deanna, you said the runoff will enter into the regional detention and the crossings per the city's master plan. Is the master plan assuming that this area would be developed? Because it's different with all the impervious surfaces, so.
That's a better question for Ben.
Ben, where are you?
Yep, and I can answer that one. So yes, when the McGaw Regional Stormwater Management Plan was put together, yes, this lot was assumed with a certain amount of impervious area. So when those the crossing ponds were designed and constructed, yes, it did assume that this parcel of land would be developed and have impervious cover at a future date.
Okay, so, and then the next sentence is 3 bioretention basins meet current infiltration standards. And so that is going to be true when it's developed also.
Yeah, so I haven't seen a stormwater management plan for this development yet, but part of the McGaw neighborhood plan was that sites have to retain 100% of pre-development runoff in the post-development condition. So that standard will apply here as well, and that they're using those 3 rain gardens to basically meet that infiltration standard.
Okay, and then since the DNR is involved in the stormwater management plan, the comment was made that Fitchburg couldn't find the DNR plan when the creek was redirected, but obviously, hopefully the DNR has it. And so they would take that into consideration in approving any proposed plan. Is that true?
Yes, that project was permitted back in 2016. It basically kind of went in conjunction with the Fahey Fields development because they had to send their water to that, realigned channel. So, to say that the city doesn't have all the documents related to the permit submission is true, but the Fahey Fields stormwater management plan does outline how much water is going to be flowing through the creek. So that is something that is known, and again would have to be discussed in the stormwater management report that would be required for this proposed project.
Okay, so tell me with the preliminary plat and final plat what if the plan requires more than the retention basins that are there now and we approve this preliminary plan? Is there experience in that when the final plan comes, it has to be changed? I mean, we hold to that?
There'd be an ability to amend that if it was needed.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Can you repeat, Ben?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so if it turned out that more area was needed, that's something that could be amended later.
I mean, I'm assuming the stormwater evaluation is going to go on the final plat, right? Based on what they submit for final?
Yes, I mean, they will have to have everything sorted out about the time we get to the final plat.
Okay.
Okay, so approving the preliminary plat doesn't start moving the train, you know what I mean? We still have a chance to change it.
Yes, you do.
Okay, good. One more thing, and then I'm done. In the material, the rezone comments back and forth, there was a reference made to meeting a 100-year flood. And so but we are requiring 200, and the McGaw is more stringent. So I would suggest that we consider amending some of the conditions just to make that clear. So I think that might go in,
Which number?
when we get to the preliminary plat, would that be 22 perhaps? It's talking about the permit shall be obtained. I don't know if you think there's a better place to put that condition, but I think it would be a good idea because the underlying documents are in conflict with what we're requiring now. I think it should be made clear.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. I can, 200 years.
But it's not included in the stormwater maintenance agreement there, the language?
We don't usually specify in the plan, from the planning side, these specifics because these are all regulations and ordinance that Ben needs to follow.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy to add on to number 2 that shall be obtained prior to any land disturbance to meet the 200-year.
And which number are you? 20?
Number 22.
20, oh, okay.
The 200-year stormwater management standards.
And maybe add and McGaw neighborhood plan. I mean, I know we don't always go into these specifics, but it's just because the documents that we usually look at is in conflict with this, so I just think it's good to clarify it.
We could do that.
Okay, thank you.
And the
I'm done.
McGaw, and then McGaw neighborhood standards.
Oh, neighborhood standard, okay.
So what we'll do for number 22, it'll read, erosion control and stormwater management permit shall be obtained prior to any land disturbance to meet the 200-year stormwater management standards and the McGaw neighborhood standards.
Okay.
Can I ask if the intersection of Notre Dame and Pond VW Way is expected to change at all as part of this?
That is a private drive, and so we do not have any control over that.
Pond VW is a private drive?
Can you show it in the map?
Which, into the crossings, yes.
Yeah.
Both
So-
roads and the crossings are private roads. And is that the one by the road that we don't
That
control?
parallels the-
We're further back. We have no,
But Notre Dame will be complete,
Notre
basically.
Dame is already in there.
Yeah, Notre
we-
Dame
oh,
will
yeah,
come
okay.
through,
So,
and then Quarry Hill Drive will come through.
Oh, okay.
And then
so
the
we're
cul-de-sac
more
will come.
south of that.
But
You're connecting to the existing.
We're connecting Notre Dame.
You're basically, yeah, okay.
So, but the first part of Notre Dame off Lacey Road is already in.
Right, okay. And right now, that Pond VW spilling into Notre Dame has a stop to come into that street, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that it was designed.
So Notre
On
Dame
other
Drive
entry-
has the right of way and the Pond VW has a stop sign to come into that.
Notre Dame, yes, will have the right of way.
Okay.
So I have another question for Ben about the city pond, that was mentioned by one of the neighbors that flooded a couple of years ago. What is the city doing? I know that we are doing dredging some of our ponds in that area. Can you tell us what the city is doing
Yeah,
right
so-
now? Yes.
Yeah, so with, I guess, the pictures that we saw, being that they are stormwater, management facilities, it is kind of what you would expect if you do have a heavy rainfall. You would expect to see those fill up. In that, basin in particular, once it gets to a certain elevation, the water will start spilling over the asphalt path immediately to the north of it. So that water will spill over that path before it would, back up into houses. So it appears that pond is functioning as intended, but we'll continue to check outlet structures and make sure that there's no clogging occurring like is done with any of the other ponds.
Okay. Any other question, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to the tree plan, I do appreciate that we were able to do a tree survey, so I'm glad that we have that in place now. It sounds like some of the trees will need to be removed to maintain the health of the other trees, and then some of them just are in bad shape for whatever reason. Are there plans to clear cut trees, some of those trees just for, practical purposes in terms of developing the property, or are the tree removals really related to the health of the trees and the quality of the trees?
Yes. Both.
Okay, yeah.
Because, once you start removing some of those pine forests, and some of them have already broken, if you go in there, some of them have already broken off about like 8 to 10 feet up. Once you start removing some, the others are susceptible to being blown over. And like they said, the bottoms have no leaves, so it's for both safety reasons.
So can you, one question for you, Diana, is about so you mentioned here that, where is? So it's about 25 single-family homes lot. It's 2.5 dwelling unit per acre. This is kind of in the low.
As a gross density for the entire area, including all of the roads and open space and environmental corridor, yes, it is a little bit on the low side.
Okay.
Right, we're losing significant space because of the creek, basically, right? Where we
yeah.
have to have the cut through the middle. Yeah.
And what is the buffer for the creek? It has to be like 200 feet, or is,
I think that we're still working that out.
Okay.
The McCaw neighborhood plan has it at 75 feet.
75.
Yes. We will probably be at 90.
Okay. So I want to mention what I mentioned in my December meeting. I don't like cul-de-sac. I oppose to the cul-de-sac for many, many reasons. But,
there's the east side has no houses, which will encourage parking and flow through there. So that should eliminate some of the issues with the cul-de-sac.
and do you have an idea the size of these houses? What are the average size?
They'll be similar to Fahey Fields, which is, I think, in the 1,500.
Okay.
I don't know.
The lots in the cul-de-sac, if you look, they are big lots, those ones. So yeah, assuming that those gonna go.
But you can't, we're not gonna gain any lots by connecting that road through. We will actually lose lots.
I was just gonna say, if the expectation also is that the pond on the south side flows over the walkway to the north, you don't wanna, I guess a street might work, but you have to have you have to have the water to be able to flow to that creek. So you don't wanna put too many houses close to that southwest corner. Because if we're talking about the overflow from the pond there coming across the walkway, then you're talking about it going into 7, 8, 9 into the yards there.
Okay. Yeah, Gabriela.
So in terms of traffic flow, there's a total of 25 homes planned. It looks like about half are going to have driveways out onto Notre Dame Drive, and then the other half will be onto the cul-de-sac that will, they will drive onto Quarry Hill Drive in order to leave. So about 13 homes going onto Quarry Hill Drive and 12 homes, I guess, going onto Notre Dame.
Can you put the map, the other map?
Does that sound, that's,
That one, yes.
that's about what it is?
So where is that? All the houses on the cul-de-sac will take, what do you think they're gonna take?
They're all going to filter out onto Quarry Hill Drive.
Oh, no, the other-
is kind
okay,
of
okay, okay.
Where
This is
the,
Quarry Hill.
that goes
Okay,
out to.
okay, okay.
And then Notre Dame, I mean, will completing Quarry Hill, I don't drive around this area a lot, I'm going to be honest, so like the, completing Quarry Hill Drive and Notre Dame Drive, will that improve some of the traffic flow in the area?
Yeah, because then you can go to Lacey and Fahey Glen, which is the roundabout. I think Deanna's other picture had it. So I would envision the people on the cul-de-sac would go to Fahey Glen and go to the roundabout because the flow will be better. And even, I mean, if I lived there, I would even go down or go to Quarry Hill Drive and go to the roundabout because it'll encourage easier access than going out in Notre Dame.
Yeah, but the people that live in Fahey Field,
Well, still probably,
it's gonna be easy for them to take Notre Dame.
well, I mean, most of the traffic in Fahey Fields is designed to go on Fahey Glen as a primary collector.
Okay.
Just trying to get a sense for the neighbors about what the.
Yeah.
Also, just wanted to say, it's just so, the fact that realtors lie to the people that they're selling houses to is absurd. And I just hate that that happens, and I wish people had easier access to these documents so that they didn't, that they knew what they were getting into when they bought a property. It's
Do you have a-
extraordinarily frustrating.
I'd like to comment on
Okay.
that. My name is Tony Heinrichs, co-developer, and anybody can go on the computer, or on their cell phone, and you can go under Fahey Fields and go under Documents, and number 8 says, "Buyer acknowledges and is hereby given notice that the lands of the north, south, east, and west may someday be developed. Buyer is encouraged to investigate with the city of Fitchburg the planned use of any property surrounding or adjacent to property owned by the seller."
Good.
All buyers sign that in Fahey Fields.
Well, I'm glad that some people are given a proper warning, but I do think that people are still misled. And I understand that, anyway, it just irritates me that, that people don't understand, aren't able to understand for whatever reason, so. But I think all of my questions have been answered.
Yeah, okay. Any other question, comments, so we can move on? Okay, Gabriela, can you move that?
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 2626 26 with the 3 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the rezone RZ-2626-26, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one is,
I will move approval of preliminary plat PP 2625-26 with the 27 conditions outlined by staff, including the change to 22 that Deanna outlined earlier.
Second.
okay, all those in favor of the preliminary plat, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Didn't have any opportunity for input on the preliminary plat.
Oh, okay, you want to, okay, yeah, you make, yeah, we didn't have a public hearing for the preliminary plat, but yes, you make a good comment, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we are gonna go back to preliminary plat, and we have David Haight here that he wishes to speak in opposition. Can you email us this to all of us? Yes. Okay, thank you.
So that's official public
Okay.
comment, should be in the record.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, go
David
ahead.
Haight, 5855 Woods Edge Road. So why isn't the city attorney here? Why is people speculating on what the law says? So first of all, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. So what should be in front of you for the preliminary plat is a list of legal requirements and a list of evidence that shows that the legal requirements are in fact met. That's how this has to go. And then your job is to consider the evidence, preponderance of, and each of those must be met. So again, since Swan Creek empties into the Wabasha wetlands, and our 103 must be met in order for the Fitchburg Ordinance 24-2 B5, which says all the requirements of the Wisconsin DNR with regard to wetlands, floodplains, et cetera. Okay? You keep ignoring it. So the other thing that's true is that a preliminary plat isn't preliminary. That's just completely wrong. Unless something changes on the end of the developer, the preliminary plat stands. The city cannot change any conditions. And that makes a lot of sense if you think about it. If you're a developer, you wouldn't want something approved and then the city arbitrarily come back and say, sorry, we don't really like that anymore. Now, if there's something that's in a condition and the condition is properly specified according to the law, then that's a different story. But the other thing that's true is that stormwater, that's one of the things that is in it's supposed to be in the comprehensive plan. So you're also supposed to be looking at the comprehensive plan to make sure that the elements of the preliminary plat meet all the requirements that are in the comprehensive plan for the elements. Housing, we don't have a housing plan in there. Transportation, we don't have a transportation plan in the comprehensive plan. Environmental protection, we don't have an environmental protection plan in the city at all, much less in the comprehensive plan. So there's no possible way that you can come to a legal decision today because there's nothing in the comprehensive plan for all of those elements for you to check compatibility with. This is a fundamental problem. So I'm sure that you're going to move ahead in the way that you've done in the past, but it is now time for you to begin to step up into your role. You are given, under the law, the power individually to request opinions of the city attorney, and the city attorney must provide them to you. I've already provided you with the NR 103 opinion. I will provide it again, and I will begin providing you with more. It's your job to uphold your oath by understanding what the law is. That's what your oath says. You will uphold the law. To uphold the law, you must understand what it is. Thank you for listening. I always appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, David. So the other thing we want to mention that this is a preliminary plat and nothing is finalized yet, isn't it, Diana? Until the final plat is come to.
Yeah, the final plat still has to come forward. In a sense, David is right. The city cannot wholesale deny a final plat. That is consistent with the preliminary plat.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so now can you move the resolution again?
Oh, no, do we do a hearing?
No, we don't have a hearing.
We did both of them.
No, we don't have a hearing. This is a preliminary plat. Doesn't need a public.
I believe we already voted on that.
Yeah. Yeah?
We voted on it.
Okay,
We voted
okay,
already, yeah.
okay.
Do we need to do it over, though, because we didn't have the public hearing first?
There is not a public
There is no
hearing
public, there are
required.
public comments.
Oh, for a preliminary plat?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a public comment, that's it, no public hearing. Okay, so we already, it was approved, item B. Okay. So next we are moving to item 5C is, thank you to all the neighbors that came to for the public comment. So next we are moving to item 5C is another public hearing and consideration of rezone RZ-2627-26 request by Dwayne Herwig, agent from Agrace Hospice Care Holdings, to amend the PDD GIP, that is the Planned Development District General Implementation Plan, to allow for an assisted living and memory care facility at 5395 East Sherrill Parkway along East Sherrill Parkway and Fahey Glen. So do we have anyone who wishes to speak for this? Yes, we have, yes.
Kevin is on, but
We have Duane, I don't know, you want to say something? And who is that?
Kevin and Sven.
And we have Svetlin Borisov and Kevin Jeska that represent Agrace Hospice, and they are here to answer only questions. Okay. Duane, go ahead.
And that's all I wanted to say was we're here to answer all your questions. I also have Ben Maneker from JP Cullen, who is the general contractor. So hopefully with our collection of people here tonight, we can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. So then I am going to close the public hearing, and then we are moving to staff report.
This rezone is for A-Grace. The current zoning on the property is Planned Development District Specific Implementation Plan, or PDD SIP. We're actually amending the PDD GIP. We amend these planned development districts when there's a very significant change to a planned development district. We need to go back to amend the GIP, or the General Implementation Plan. And then the next step will be to amend, well, if the rezone tonight to Planned Development District GIP is approved, their next step would be to bring forward a Planned Development District Specific Implementation Plan. The original Planned Development Districts were approved in 2004 and amended in 2020. And the amendment process needs to conform to a standard rezone process. What is happening in December of 2025, Plan Commission approved the exception to the state law requirements regarding the siting of community-based residential facilities, such as A-Grace's proposed addition. That exception would allow the capacity of community living arrangements in the Aldermanic District to exceed the 1% of the total population. So Council did approve that on January 13th. The plans in your packet for this PDD GIP is consistent with what was presented to Plan Commission previously. Phase 1 includes the remaining hospice facilities, grief support and education. Additional parking may be included in Phase 1. Phase 2 is the eastern portion of the property that would be renovated to create the Dementia Village. And you might have seen that in the paper this morning.
Oh, yes.
The village will have 8 houses, a clubhouse, supporting facilities, gardens, and walks. The eastern parking lot would also be reconfigured. The new structure does not require a change in the setbacks. There will be new foundation plantings. There is a late addition in terms of the response to the staff questions. There will be trees that will be needed to be removed as part of the renovations. The team is working through a tree survey, and they will be working to minimize the impacts, particularly, and I guess I should have brought up my map, particularly any impacts along the southern edge of the property. So this is the property on East Sherrill, right here. So staff does recommend the approval of the Planned Development District GIP with those 9 conditions, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. So, any questions, comments?
What's the next step? Does this come back as PDD SIP? Or?
It does,
Okay.
with an architectural design review. And they also are going to bring forward a CSM, which I keep on harping on this, but we need to put the 2 lots. You can see there's 2 individual lots.
So we're gonna put
It's
it
just
to one?
Yeah, we're going to go to 1. Just a cleanup.
Okay, any other comments, question?
What's the current plan in terms of, obviously there's more approvals that have to go through, but do you have a current plan in terms of building? Like when you have plans to start and when it might be completed?
Sure, yeah, optimally, we would like to start construction in May of this year. The project would be built in 2 phases. So the first phase is a smaller phase, and we're hopeful to get that completed in about 3 months. Move residents on campus, clear out the other side of the campus, and then start the remainder of the construction there. Anticipated completion would be August to fall of 2027.
Okay. Any comments? No? Okay. So, can you move on?
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 2627-26 with the 9 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of rezoning RZ 2627-26, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carry. Okay, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so now, next is another public hearing. Oh, we have several. I open the public hearing and consideration of Comprehensive Development Plan CDP-26-28-26, request by Chris Dawson, agent of for Fitchburg Partners LLC, to amend the Jamestown Quarry Comprehensive Development Plan to allow for a commercial and residential development on property located off Fitcherona Road. Okay, do we have any? Let's see. We are in D, isn't it?
Yep, we're in D, E, and F.
So we had Corey, Frank, and Chris. I don't know if you want to add anything now during the public hearing? Why we are doing this?
Corey Frank with CF Real Estate, here to answer any questions regarding the multifamily component, and Chris Dawson with JSD and Jeff Huntley with Colburn Huntley on the Zoom call here with the commercial component.
Okay, I will close the public hearing and we are moving to staff report.
I'm going to give my staff report on the 3 items together.
Okay, yeah.
So if you want to do the public hearing for the rezone.
So I will open the public hearing and consideration of rezone RZ 2629-26, request by Chris Dawson, agent of Fitchburg Partners LLC, to amend the PDD-GIP to allow for the commercial and residential development of property located off Fitcherona Road. Okay, that's it. And I am going to close the public hearing. So, okay. So now
And then do we need that as well for F or not for a certified survey map?
We don't need a public hearing, but
Yeah.
you could certainly see if there's anybody
And
who'd
also,
like to
I
do-
will need to move certified survey map CS-2630-26, request by Chris Dawson, agent of Fitchburg Partners LLC, to create 3 lots out of 1 existing outlot on property off Fitcherona Road. Okay, that's it. So now you can.
Okay, all right,
Report.
thank you. It's just a little bit easier to
Yeah,
put
yeah.
them all together for staff. So the original, what we have there is already existing CDP on this site. I think this is the 3rd time we've third revision to the CDP. And so we frequently do revisions to the CDP as projects evolve. So what is before you tonight is a revision to the CDP that is reflecting back on the minor comp plan amendment that Plan Commission and Council approved last year to change the rear parcel from medium density residential and business to high density residential. So that was a minor comp plan amendment that was done last year. And so now we're proceeding through the steps in order to allow that multifamily to be built on this particular site. In addition, we're amending the existing planned development district, so that's where the rezone is coming from. And then in order to create the new lots, the residential lots, and then two new commercial lots, we need to do the CSM. So that's in general kind of the high level of what's happening. And I don't know why my battery, can you check on that? Oh, thank you. It's probably not plugged in. Sorry. The application, staff has some concerns about, staff's main concerns about the project is the relationship between the rear, thank you, the rear of the commercial lots and the multifamily lots. Staff's concerns about this connection and how the rear loading docks of the commercial and the and the garbage pickup would impact the multifamily. So that's one thing that staff's looking for in the next phases is to have a little bit more information regarding that. Let's see. This kind of gives another little layout of what that commercial is going to look like with the truck and loading dock area. Let's see, I think, help me out, which one has the cross sections, yeah. On the OneDrive? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I guess everything is right here. So that's what, maybe we're not going to get that nice and bigger, but in my,
While you get that set up, can I ask a question of the
Yeah,
developer?
sure.
Can, seeing that layout, I would agree, I'm not super keen on all of those residents overlooking loading docks and you know, kind of the directionality of that building. And I'm curious if there's an opportunity for that commercial development to be reoriented so that that's, I mean, facing the fast food restaurants, I think that would honestly be, I don't know, a better option, I guess, in my mind.
Yeah, that's something we've had discussions with from the start, and working with, since two parties involved here, our involvement is the multifamily, Jeff Huntley on the Zoom with the commercial aspect, and that's something that's been discussed from the start, and I think both myself and Jeff reiterate the comments Deanna had, and we are working towards a solution that works for both parties. That'll be a kind of a mix of, for one, there is a grade change, which always helps. The commercial is sitting lower than the multifamily building, so there's a grade change. The retail building isn't terribly tall. There will be a fence and as much landscaping buffer as possible between the two. In addition, the retail is going to be looking into screening, screening mechanicals, and making the loading area look as nice as possible, per reiterating Deanna's comments. And then from our perspective, a big aspect is the limiting times of loading and trash pickup. Since noise is really the biggest concern for the residents, the building itself is 70 feet apart from each other, which is a pretty sizable distance. That, paired with a generous buffer between the buildings, we feel confident both parties will come to something that works on both ends.
And then speaking to the orientation as well, from a real estate marketing perspective and from the feedback we got from the interested retailers, that was I guess more of a north-south orientation, for instance, was quickly ruled out. I'm not personally in marketing, but apparently it was just a dead on arrival subject for them.
I think that's fair based on the orientation of the lot. My question is kind of, could the directionality of the lot be flipped, right? Like where like the building is on the south end of the lot and you potentially have the loading docks facing south, where you're still getting the length of the building running east-west, but you're not necessarily right up against the residential, or, you know, close to the residential, I guess.
I'll let Jeff chime in and kind of supplement my response there, but it does boil down to a marketing perspective as well. You kind of want that separation from the front lots that are already approved and in process. From a visibility standpoint, having that separation, it's all about branding, and you just get that better visibility with that separation.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff Hunley with Fitchburg Partners, and yeah, I think we're very sensitive with Corey's, you know, $60-70 million investment, and the residents and the operate time of deliveries, pickups, those things we can dictate to our tenants. But we tried the retail center. We originally had it configured perpendicular to McKee, so we tried just about everything, and we couldn't get any interest literally whatsoever until we got to this layout here. So I think between the large berm on the north side of Corey's building, and then how we treat the space between the multifamily and the retail, those are probably the two biggest sensitive issues that we are gonna work very hard to get it right.
And what kind of interest, what types of tenants are you guys seeing for this orientation?
The general retail, there's been a lot of talk about who has interest, and it's the same retailers we've been working with for quite some time.
Can I get examples of types of industries?
Yeah, small grocery, boutique grocery, women's clothing, general merchandise, home goods. Ulta, which is cosmetic products, hair products, that type of thing. Really, Pittsburgh's a really strong, good demographics for retailers, and we don't have a lot of space, but I think we got 4 of the better retailers there are out there, so a lot of interest, but we tried everything with the building, and we're still having difficulty with their concern with the exposure from the key, the visibility, so we're working on that through elevations and the grades. We have a lot of excess material on the site. There's been some conditions that, prior to our purchase that we didn't anticipate, and found some things, and it's been very difficult. So it's taken a lot of work, and we're getting closer. But I don't think, as far as orientation, we have tried everything. We've talked about the retail on the main floor with multifamily above it, and this layout is really the only layout that they were willing to commit to.
One thing I would note, in case you weren't aware, the west end of the site has a very significant grade change. So that unused space to the west would not be able to be utilized at all. Basically, all the impervious you see there is pretty much the maximum buildable area. So wouldn't be able to push anything to the west there any further.
Okay.
Do you have another neighborhood meeting about this new multifamily with the neighbors on the other side?
Well, we met with the neighbors that are in the city of Fitchburg, and I believe everyone to the west as well in Madison were welcome to join. I don't know if we did have some, because there were some water issues initially that were raised by a couple of the residents that were there. But they have seen this plan. Matter of fact, the second multifamily building was kind of, we were looking at, I think the previous comp plan allowed for a large big box. And then when we came in, we said we can continue down this avenue to see if we can get a big box or a large retail center or this second multifamily building. And I think it was unanimous by everyone.
So
They preferred the multifamily.
So I remember, it was a neighborhood meeting for the first phase of this. But my question is, because now we are bringing another multifamily, if we already are planning to have another neighborhood meeting, that we have something more finalized now, because
there was a
They
second.
have seen this plan.
when
Yeah.
was the second?
There was a second neighborhood meeting that was specifically for this phase 2. And just to, I guess, remind everybody, kind of the backstory on it was Jeff had 2 options: one big box, and then the previous comp plan of some medium density that was closer to the north lot line. So that was the one option. We then moved forward with the comp plan amendment based off of feedback at that meeting that had, I I would probably say 20 to 30 residents and a few members of Fitchburg staff. And feedback from that meeting was that higher density multifamily in exchange for a larger setback and distance from the north property line and smaller retail versus big box retail was the overwhelming preference between the two viable options. And that's why the comp plan amendment a few months back moved forward with the change to the high-density multifamily and the lot line, or the separation between multifamily and commercial shifting further south.
Okay.
And just to be sure that we documented that as well, that additional public meeting, it is included as part of the highlighted revisions within the GIP zoning documentation.
And that's not to say we're not open to another neighborhood meeting, but in terms of sizable changes from what has been discussed in the past, the general building footprint hasn't changed more than a few feet. The berm to the north, which has been a big priority from the start, even before our involvement with multifamily. Jeff's been working on this site for years, and from the start, an emphasis was put on trying to create as nice a buffer and berm on the north as possible. And we're still going down that exact same path, and nothing has changed as far as the potential size.
Could we continue with the staff report?
Yeah, can you finish that and then, because I have plenty of more questions.
Because there was multiple concerns laid out in the memo that I'd be interested in hearing more on.
Yeah, so I can continue. In addition, staff is suggesting some more consideration of the parking lot landscape islands. You'll note that the nature of this type of business requires a lot of parking. Staff believes that additional planting spaces are needed, but may be consolidated in larger landscape islands for healthier plants and snow storage. So just to point out that staff would like to continue to work through the parking lot landscaping, and then also ensuring that there are safe pedestrian pathways through the commercial site to connect to public streets and bus stops. Lot 3, I'll just point out, there's 3 lots proposed in the CSM. Lot 3 is a bit unconventional. This would be for a quick serve restaurant, and the lot itself would extend south to McKee Road. This is necessary to meet our Land Division Ordinance, Section 24-8 G5D. And so this type of lot is called a flag lot. Plan Commission has approved flag lots in the past, but it does need a special waiver from council in order to proceed. So I'm just pointing that out.
Where is that?
Did I lose you? Here's lot 3, and this is the flag lot.
Oh, that one is.
Yes. This is a landscaped area. So this is the private road, Jamestown Way. Okay. And then this would be a landscaped area as a buffer to the condominiums to the west. So staff is just pointing out concern about the long-term maintenance of that area, depending on the quick serve restaurant. What we need to do is ensure that the long-term maintenance of that area is addressed.
Who's responsible for that?
What's that?
Who is responsible to maintain that?
That's what we need to figure out. So there'll have to be a shared maintenance and access easement prior to recording the CSM so that it's clear who is responsible for the long-term maintenance of the landscape areas. The city cannot require playgrounds in this development because parkland will not be developed as part of the project. Staff does recommend a playground between the 2 multifamily buildings to accommodate residents. Then finally, an environmental buffer larger than 60 feet is required along the north property line. We haven't finalized that width, but the Anton redevelopment plan proposed a 60-foot buffer when the proposed land use was medium-density residential. Now that, and I apologize, now that land use is high-density residential, a buffer wider than 60 feet is appropriate. And then staff would also look for some additional screening between the multifamily and the single-family residence to the north. Perhaps a higher berm, some permanent screening such as wood fencing may also be appropriate. So those approaches and things will have to be detailed further in the Planned Development District SIP. Staff does recommend approval of the CDP and the rezone, and then also the CSM. So happy to take all your questions.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple of questions about, I think maybe this one is from now that Jeff is here. What is going on with the, what is the plan to finish the first phase of this project, because, and how that one is, is going to affect, if this phase one is not finished soon, how it's going to affect to bring more retail to the commercial lot, number one. Because I recall when you came back with this project, you said Chick-fil-A will be open the first week of January.
That is correct. You're right. Good memory.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, I want to know where we are because it seems like nothing is moving on there. So.
I would agree. We ran into some issues when we started moving dirt. We ran into some buried concrete and some things that we did not know were there. Had a lot of complications, especially with these big companies when you find something that you didn't anticipate. So we had numerous delays. We had some issues with getting the county's final approval. We had submitted plans in March. They were ultimately approved in August. And so a lot of things just sat there. And it's been very frustrating. I can tell you that Chick-fil-A has their foundations in. They did take advantage of the early start permits, and they will again begin once we finish the public improvements to the extent that they are allowed to get the full building permit. JP Morgan and McDonald's anticipate starting in the spring as early as possible. And those three, the car wash is going to be a little later, but the three of those have anticipated openings of August, September. That's the new opening dates. And we feel real confident that we'll meet those now that, we had traffic signal issues and lead times for ordering traffic. We're adding lanes on Fitzroy and on McKee. It just is much more complicated than we anticipated. And so it just caused a lot of delays, but they're very antsy, and as we are, to get everything complete. Our goal, Chris, what is our anticipated completion of all the improvements?
So the public improvements are slated to wrap up near the Memorial Day weekend, sort of the beginning of June, as it relates to scope specifically for those first 4 commercial lots.
Do you have any, for the commercial lot number 1, do you have any interest party, letter of intent for that? How do we know that the commercial will come and when it's going to come?
Well, we're just like you, and that is we anticipate if we get the approval to proceed with the plan that we have. We have 3 firm commitments, and we have 1 letter of intent that we're going back and forth on with a retailer, which is a very important one of the whole of the whole center, we think. And so we have some work to do with elevations and some grading to raise the site so the retailers have better exposure. But yeah, we're committed to the land, and so we want it to be here. And but we can't control, as you know, you saw with Meyer when they got their full approval, and back in 2021, I think it was. These guys sometimes change their mind, and it's difficult to get 100% firm commitment from any of them. So until a lease is signed and they take occupancy, that's the risk in our business, I guess you could say.
Okay, so my other question is for Corey. You know, there is this pile of dirt there, you know what I mean? So are you gonna use that in your multifamily? How we are gonna dispose that? Or, I don't know.
As you know, this was a quarry site, which was then filled in, and there's more fill material than can be developed. So it'll be a mix of utilizing material that's currently on the north property line, and there's some piles in the center from the retail lots along the key, excess material that was moved from those lots as well. So it'll be a mix of utilizing that material to raise the building pads for the commercial and multifamily, and then the remainder that doesn't get used, which would be the also there's material that's unusable regardless. So there will be at the end of it a portion of material that gets hauled away as well.
Okay. Any other
And
questions?
the berm the berm that we're gonna have between the multifamily and residents to the north, there's gonna be a very large berm that will take a lot of that material.
It won't be what you see there today. It'll be something in final form. But I think that if you wanted to pull up that preliminary, yeah, there we go. So this is just a preliminary cross-section that JSD put together. Elevations, building locations can change within a few feet when it comes down to the SIP and final grading and civil engineering plans. But I think what he did does paint a good general picture of the grades and what the berm will look like. The red dash line is the previous grades before any development started.
So if I live in one of the single family, practically I will not be able to see the multifamily when this is done.
Yeah, depending on the location, since the grade changes a little bit from west to east.
Okay.
But in particular, the buildings, the house is further west, but just in general, yes, you're definitely not seeing the whole building. And this building does have a flat roof, so it's only approximately 45 feet tall in height versus a two-story house with a pitched roof generally is 30 to 35 feet high to the top of the roof. So in reality, so what you see depicted there would be the equivalent of a ranch with a pitched roof, or a two-story not showing the roof. So you'd be adding a roof on top of that single-family house that's depicted.
Interesting. Okay.
Question about the number of concerns. So through the PDD process, as we move into SIP, you're confident we can resolve all of these concerns? Because this is just a little more concerns than I typically see from staff for this type of approval. And I know this is a complicated site, so there is that to consider as well. But just wanted to check, like, is this within the normal realm of things that we can work out?
We can work this out.
Okay. The other question I had about in terms of Lot 3, so are these commercial properties, are they sold to the companies or are they leased to the companies?
Jeff.
I guess I'm
So
gonna send it to
we
Jeff.
own we own the outlots where Chick-fil-A is, we will own that. We will own the JP Morgan site, and then we'll own the McDonald's site. Fitchburg Partners will. Crew Car Wash purchased their site.
Okay. So that's so we're talking
And
about,
then we,
go ahead,
Go
sorry, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, go ahead.
no, and then where the retail center will be, we will own that. And then we would also own the QSR, but they have to be separate parcels. Those restaurants are different than general retail, and for financing purposes, the financing we're working on wants it separate, the QSR separate. So it'll be another partnership of same ownership. We'll own the QSR, whether it be a land lease or a build to suit for a, you know, a Chipotle or Starbucks type of use.
Okay. So I'm just curious, like I understand the reason why you're talking about like a flag lot and how that's unusual in our, we don't typically do that, but if it's all being owned by one company, I guess it doesn't occur to me as big of an issue, but maybe I'm misunderstanding the concern about having a flag lot like this.
Well, one thing too, if I could add, Gabrielle,
Yeah.
is that we initially, when we put that private road in, we had anticipated that would be a public road where that would be allowed. But we were encouraged to make it private, which we did. And so the flag lot is just one way to make that happen.
Okay, so it cannot front that street because that's a private street.
Correct.
Okay. It's kind of a technicality.
It is.
So the CSM keeps it? Because I thought the CSM was combining lots, didn't you say? Into one, or was that a different project?
Different project. This is the dimension.
That was a grace.
Oh, okay,
That was
thank
the
you.
other project.
Never mind.
The CSM is for the multifamily.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a question for Corey. You know, you're gonna have 2 multifamily. I don't know how many people, and there is not gonna be a park or some area for, you know, like a green space for people to, you know, to walk. You know, what I mean, what, you know, that one is a concern.
Yeah, I guess in terms of amenities, I mean, there is indoor community rooms and large fitness center. As far as exterior, keep in mind, we do have the large rooftop areas on these buildings, which is a big benefit for some outdoor space.
Okay.
And then in terms of additional outdoor space, so what we've had our eyes on incorporating is the kind of northeast portion that you see a storm basin there.
Yes.
We're working with Jeff to come up with a way that we'd be able to share stormwater facilities and have stormwater size to the south be adequate to take on the needs of the stormwater from the multifamily as well. And what that would allow for is being able to utilize that open space for some form or multiple forms of outdoor
playground?
space.
Okay.
It will have to be private. We initially wanted to go down the route of parkland dedication for 4 to 5 acres, but it was deemed by Parks Department that it was too small of an area to take as public parkland.
Yeah.
So it will have to be private, whatever it is, but we are more than cognizant about wanting to have as much outdoor space as possible for tenants.
And what is the closest park there? Do they have access to people that want to walk to a park there? I think it's like
there's a couple options. So there's a park down here.
No,
it's
it's
the
too far
City of
away.
Madison
Yeah, no.
Park, and then there's Hugo Jamestown.
Oh,
over here.
there.
There's 2 parks. There's one on King James Way, and
Yeah.
there's one on Williamsburg Way.
Yeah.
There's a pocket park on King James.
Well, yeah, there's a pocket park. I forgot
Yeah.
about that one
And then
too.
one on Williamsburg Way.
Yeah.
But the access from, how do you access, you know, because it's gonna be the burned.
There's no connection, right? Yeah, like-
Yeah, there is bike path that's being added along the quay, which makes, along Fitch Rona there,
Rona?
which makes Fitch Rona even more walkable than currently. So
Okay.
like our current Phase 1 multifamily building, we put in a 10-foot bike path along Fitrona, and that's continuing here in the spring with the public improvements that are being finished up, going and connecting to McKee. But that can be wrapped around to the east. I mean, yes, it's still a walk to a park, but I guess the hurdle we have is that this isn't being allowed to be dedicated as public parkland. So we have to work with our options that are private, and having just a park that's wide open that anybody can walk up to on private land, insurance is very stringent on
I
that.
get that, but my question is, I am okay that you have your private park. My concern is people wants to walk to a park, public park.
Yeah.
How they're going to be connected to the parks on the north part of the city, the three parks there, if there is any, they had to take what? They had to go through James, what is that one?
Yeah, they would have to
Jamestown
take the
U-verse.
public street.
Yeah, the public street, because there is no any connection.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's all
okay, yeah.
private.
This is all private.
Yeah, I
So
know,
there's
yeah,
no
yeah,
public
no
land
public,
that
yeah,
a trail
yeah.
could be
Yeah,
connected through.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess I'm confused about why it's not big enough for it to be considered, for us to even consider it for public dedication. Is it, I mean,
I don't know.
to my eye, it doesn't look any smaller than any pocket, that pocket park that's right there.
So we talked about that, but you thought you could get us 4 acres?
The area I had outlined and sent to you, it ended up being a cumulative 4.5, I believe 4.5. It's been a while, but
But the
that
problem
also
was,
included
but
the
step back, Corey,
120
now I
foot
remember.
buffer to the
Wait,
north
she
as well.
remembers now, she
Yeah.
remembers.
Yeah.
But it was the berm.
What?
Oh, but also that whole area to the northeast,
Yeah,
which is
so-
the usable area.
Yeah, we talked about this, so
What is?
they were gonna give us all
What?
of this in this as
Oh,
parkland.
okay.
And this isn't
No.
usable parkland,
Yeah.
right? And so the problem that, that we just have to be careful as a city in taking parkland, to take different parcels, isolated parcels. It's difficult for long-term maintenance and staffing.
No, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
There would definitely be room for a park, or a
Yeah.
small park, but whether it's a large enough park to be worthwhile, from a financial perspective, that can definitely be argued.
maybe a future park is coming to the other part of the quarry eventually, one day.
Well, and of course, you all know that the school owns, Verona
yeah, yeah.
School.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Has these lands now.
Yeah. That is
So
gonna be-
at some point,
Yeah.
they will have play facilities
Yeah.
there.
Well, thanks for at least looking into it. We appreciate that, because it would be nice to, and I imagine that would probably be mostly used by those residents, because
Yeah.
that's like the housing in the area, but I understand the concern about private liability.
Any other question, comment? Shelley?
Yeah, so you said the Anton Drive plan required a 60-foot buffer, but that was for medium. So I assume it was silent as to whether or not it was going to be high density, because it wasn't anticipated.
It wasn't anticipated.
So do we have a standard? Do you have a thought how large the buffer should be? And are you in agreement with the developers about the size of it?
I don't have a number. When it was just, the Anton Drive required a 120-foot buffer for all commercial. So I think some number between 60 and 120. 120 is overkill, I'm sure.
And we're shooting for right around that 120 for the closest point to the building, if at all possible.
Okay.
Part of that too is trying to make sure there's enough room for a berm and buffer, since you'll see from those cut sheets that there's a big drop off in grade from the north lot line going down to the development. So that makes it even harder to get to a berm that's higher than the existing lot line, since we're then, I wouldn't say this depicts the shape of the berm, so the peak of the berm would be closer to the north lot line, and then you're getting a 3-to-1 slope coming down to the building. So, in order to have a berm that creates a nice buffer, we kind of need to keep the building, far away. Otherwise, if we don't, there's not going to be a berm for the residents, which is something that we've made a high priority.
Right. So this is in the list of things you're confident that you will be able to work out?
It is, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we should just keep it at 6, all of our conditions refer to a proper, a buffer bigger than, wider than 60 feet. Well, 62 feet is wider. I mean, I think we're generous in using the 60 here, but, okay. But then the other only thing I would comment is that in the, which one is it? The conditions for the rezone, I think there's a typo. Shouldn't number 7, isn't that supposed to be, that's wider. Is that the buffer? Yeah, shouldn't that be 60 feet?
It is, thank you.
Yeah,
It is that is a typo. It should have
Where?
been,
Okay.
number 7
Oh, it
of
should
the
be 60
rezone, it
instead of
should be 60.
Okay, as long as you're sure you'll work it out.
Have a lawyer
Because,
in
I share Gabriella's concern that, there's such momentum that just takes off after the GIP to the SIP that I wonder if Plan has ever denied an SIP after it's approved, the GIP. But, okay, that's all.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
I'll just say one more thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about this the last time when we did the minor comp plan amendment, but just generally speaking, I imagine that some of those single-family homeowners probably will still be concerned about this, but I have to believe that the view of a multifamily building set down is better than the view of the back of a commercial building. But again, that also is why there's the concern of the multifamily, their view onto the back of the commercial. You know what I mean? It's like someone has to look onto the commercial lot. I hope that this will end up being like a positive for them because something's going to go in there. And if there's no multifamily here, it would just be commercial.
And this also gives you a perspective. So previously, it was a sliver of medium density at the north lot line, with the 60 feet buffer, so half the distance of, or actually a little less than half the distance of what's shown there. And you can see the red line of the existing grade. So it'd more so be working with the existing grade there and be, you can see the 60-foot line there, which right now it's showing theoretically at the top of that berm. But basically you would have medium density multifamily up to that setback line. And there'd be no grade differentiation. It'd be basically looking into the backyards of the houses.
Yeah, and ultimately the medium density really isn't feasible economically anyway. Isn't that what we shared last
Yeah,
time?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, especially given this location and site, I mean, it really lends itself to the high density multifamily. And as we found, I mean, the smaller retail that Jeff has on his plan here I mean, there's not many people that prefer big box going in next door versus a smaller retail center with much less scale and more usable businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question because it was mentioned that the commercial lot 1 is going to be raised a little bit. Isn't it? For exposure?
Yeah, you can kind of see that on the second cross section there. So you'll see
Where is that one?
So
the
that's
lower one there, right? Or no, you don't have one.
Oh,
for
that one.
we don't
Okay.
have one for the, that cuts all the way through the commercial. Just, we tried to highlight especially what the view shed would be from the residential side. But overall, the commercial retail center at the moment would appear to be about 10 feet below, from a first floor elevation standpoint, about 10 feet below the multifamily's first floor elevation.
And you're also, I think they're also wondering how much higher the commercial lot 1 is compared to the outlots along McKee.
Yeah, so of the commercial outlots 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 and 3 being Crew and Chick-fil-A respectively, the retail center will be about 2 feet higher from those. Those are the tallest or the highest elevation first floors for those first 4 lots. Then as you move east and west, that's when you start falling down the hill of McKee. Chase Bank is going to be about 8 to 10 feet lower than the retail center. And McDonald's, lot 1, I forget exactly, but I believe that is going to be around the 6 foot mark in terms of being 6 feet below the first floor of retail.
One thing to keep in mind is the grade of Fitch-Rona Road really, on both sites, dictates the highest first floor elevation due to accessibility between the driveways, parking lot, ADA sidewalks, and so on. The retail can't have a parking lot that has shopping carts roll from one end to the other, so.
Okay, about the parking lot, because this question is going to come to council. There are too much parking. Okay.
Yeah, can you, maybe this is a bit of an adjoining question. Somebody mentioned mixed use on that commercial lot 1 and having a retail on the first floor and potentially, that it was explored and having residential on the second floor. I think that would honestly be a much easier thing for the multifamily on lot 2 to look at. And I'm just curious why that was discarded, if that's still in the potential, like what does that have to be only retail? Like what are you guys thinking about in that lot?
For lot number 1?
For the big commercial, well, sorry, not lot number 1, but the commercial lot 1, the retail center. Could that be retail on the first floor with residential above?
The comp plan dictates that area being commercial for 1.
Well, we can change.
So we were trying to stay as close to the comp plan as possible, but 2, I think in terms of retail footage and the type of users that Jeff has been working with bringing in to the area, given the location. For 1, may not be possible to even get any substantial enough square footage for a user like that to consider. But 2, I think Jeff can attest to a lot of the big name retailers are opposed to being in a mixed-use building versus in their own standalone retail center.
I mean, I would assume that I would think we'd be looking at a very different class of tenant. I guess that's kind of my question, is like, I'd fully assume everybody you're talking to right now in the current development would not be interested in this, and I'm kind of fine with that, I'll be honest, because I want to see small shops and more local businesses or whatever having the opportunity to come into a space like that. So I guess, I think the mayor just stated, we'd consider a rezone on something like that. I think it would make a ton of sense for the area. And so I'm still not super keen seeing this on the amount of parking, what the residents are going to have to look at. I honestly think a mixed-use development there would be really well suited. But, I know that that's really kind of throwing a big curveball into this. It just sounds like this has already been such a struggle, right? And that it's still a struggle to do this. And I'll be honest in the fact that I think it's gonna depend a lot on the types of people that come into this space, right? And what the expectation of ours and the expectation of the types of businesses that are gonna land on something like that, now knowing what we're saying yes to on kind of each side of it. It's hard for me, honestly, to see this and be excited about it. I think it gives me pause in truth. And so, I don't know that I speak for the whole commission, but I think there needs to be some other assessment done to this or some other ideas put forward.
I have a question about the commercial building. Is it going to be built in one piece, or you're going to build that commercial lot 1 in pieces.
Individual buildings.
Yeah, individual
It'll
buildings.
be all built.
It's gonna be, okay, and then,
So-
what about underground parking? Can you do underground parking in that commercial building? Because I wanna be honest, there's a lot of people in the council, including myself, that we don't like to see this amount of parking lot. But I understand
Mayor,
that
I
this
can
is
tell
a
you one-
quarry, you know what I mean? And it's a different topography, but I would like to ask this question because I am intrigued now.
Okay, can I address a couple of those
Yes,
questions?
go, of course, yes.
Okay. So the retail, and you may have noticed, probably since 2015, there's been no real substantial retail space built in Wisconsin. Matter of fact, the small boutique grocery store that we're working with, part of our problem has been is that everybody's still in sticker shock from new construction costs and land costs and site work costs, that there hasn't been any new construction. And there's been a lot of Shopkos that are closed Home Depots that have been converted to mid-box retail, but there hasn't been any ground up new construction. And I can tell you for the grocery store we're working with, I mean, it's just a fact. And so sticker shock is still affecting them and how they can proceed. And one of the reasons they're looking at this location is because they have a huge parking problem in another location in Madison. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the store, and it's a nightmare, a parking nightmare. And, you know, we compete with retailers for not only Fitchburg, but they're looking at Milwaukee, they're looking at Minnesota. So when we go in and propose a store for them, we're competing against these other markets. And if we come in and say, well, we have a retail center on the main floor of a 2-3-story multifamily building here, or you can go in Minneapolis at the similar demographic with a traditional store with parking, that's what they're gonna pick. And that's just the reality is. The other problem is the mixed-use retail and with multifamily is, as was stated earlier, is it tends to become more local, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very difficult and to finance projects like that. You could up to about 2 years ago, but now it's getting very difficult to finance because there's turnover, massive turnover on those spaces. And it's not easy space to lease. It's almost a lost leader to where you gotta kind of say, all right, it's gonna be empty, or the multifamilies, well, we'll eventually turn that into meeting rooms or their workout facility, but for general retail, it just doesn't work. So I guess to say the retailers that are willing to step up now, and there's not a lot of them, they want the traditional experience for the customer. They'll work with us with the hours of the deliveries and all those things. Those are the minor things. And, but some of the things they just will say, you know, it just doesn't work. And we have to start over, and that's not to say, you know, if that's what Fitchburg wants, but the tenants we're working with, I think the city would be, and the residents would be very, very happy with.
I'll just add that, as you mentioned, it has been an arduous process to get to this point, having the tenants that are interested. And this is ultimately the product that has been able to move forward based on the groups that can be interested in the space that we have available. Just as maybe some helpful perspective, the Anton Drive plan and the comp plan does outline mixed use within what we call the infield, which is the current operating plant of Wingra. So there's still opportunity within this overall CDP area, actually, because that infield is part of the CDP. There's opportunity for that mixed use product in the future phases of development in the area.
I have another question because my question was not answered about the underground parking.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, part of the issue With underground parking, we've mentioned the vast amount of earthwork that needs to occur on the site. And from a financial perspective, it is not a viable option. Just the cost of underground parking in itself is expensive. And then the space that occupies from the perspective of fill material has another associated cost with it. I mean, we're looking at about 140,000 cubic yards of material that we need to figure out what to do with and minimize what comes off. Particularly from a cost standpoint, and also there's a lot of undocumented fill that was dumped there from nearby construction projects. So, you know, classifying that and the material management associated with that has its own cost as well. And those materials are also difficult to support a structure such as that. So a lot of it is cost-based. And I think that's the real driving factor.
I want to tell you that this one, it could be a big concern.
How many parking spaces are there for the commercial lot?
Deanna, can you bring up that, the exhibit that strictly shows commercial? They have a summary table in there, and I don't want to misspeak. And while you bring that up, I will point out that a lot of the language within the GIP right now, the intent is to try to keep it as consistent as possible with the previously approved GIP area for the development, with the concerns listed being able to be addressed in the SIP, just for the sake of making the process a little more straightforward and not hindering developments that are already under the GIP zoning. So
it's like 300 spaces?
Just
for the
under that,
commercial?
yes.
Is that?
Yes.
And you're planning on how many retailers in that area?
For retailers, overall building footprint is just under 70,000 square feet.
4 retailers and,
But this commercial designed for cool, because are you sure you're going to have 4, or maybe it's going to change and have like 2 big? Or your intention is to have 4 tenants?
There are 4 interested parties right now.
Okay.
so that's what's almost 75 parking spots per smaller retailer? That seems like a lot.
If you take a look at the right side of the plan, it'll show also the amount of parking stalls required per ordinance.
No, we don't have parking requirement.
Oh, you don't?
That's
No.
tenant required.
Oh, tenant
That's
required.
their desired
All right.
target, yeah.
I mean, that does seem to be overkill. I'm not sure 80 people go to Ulta at one time.
They certainly have experience with their targets and know what they need.
During holidays.
But is
Yeah,
it
but there's
say-
other, I mean, there could be available parking spots near to, the retailer and the second building that's not being used. I mean, I agree that unfortunately or unfortunately, we are people who want to have convenient parking when we go shopping. So I understand we have to have a lot of parking for 4, but that seems like a lot of parking for 4 not huge retailers.
So, but did the table say that 218 was the desired from the retailers?
It's a difficult font, that's 278.
Okay, so 278 is what they are wanting, and what ends up being as part of the plan is like around 300.
Correct, yes.
It will be nice that you can use those 30 parking slots to create like a small place there that people with benches and they can sit there. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, those excess spots, maybe the parking
Yeah.
landscaping could be a little bit better.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
Deanna was mentioning.
To bring some more, I don't know, landscaping, more.
We can work on that.
You know what I mean?
And I think that lends itself to the discussion of the parking islands as well.
Yeah.
If there is some flexibility, I mean,
Yeah, it
it seems
would
like there
be.
is a little bit of overage in terms of the desire, and maybe there's some
Yeah.
flexibility in terms of you could make something a little bit more interesting.
Like a small civic place where people can sit with benches, while they are doing shopping. I don't know.
Well, and I also wonder if when, they gave you their desired number, that's if they were a standalone and there were no other parking spaces around them. So when you're grouping 4 together, it seems like there's going to be some open space that could be used. It does seem
Yeah.
like a lot.
You gain economies, and the problem is these retailers now, they just, a lot of them